Everyone has a past. But when you've hit rock bottom and finally come out on the other side, you're looking for reform, for change, someone to love the new you. But what if you put your faith in the wrong person? Maybe the love you were hoping to lift you up drags you right back down. And this time, there's no escape. 17. Dallas, Texas. The moonlit city is tranquil and quiet.
It was early morning hours of Sunday morning, so most people are sleeping.
Over on the west side of town, a motel clerk is just coming back to the front desk.
He had taken a quick break, but he was heading back to the front counter.
But as he peers into the lobby, he's met with a gruesome sight.
He noticed a body. He also saw the blood. He was instantly afraid.
Upon receiving the clerk's call, law enforcement swarmed the motel parking lot.
The clerk, he waves down the police and he gestures them to come over to the lobby.
Officers check the victim for a pulse and quickly determine that he is deceased.
He had a lot of blood in his upper area. He was not responsive.
You can see that he's been shot twice in the chest.
Police check the man for an ID, but his pockets are empty.
His identity wasn't known at that point, so they had noted his name as John Doe.
Who is this man, and how did he end up in a motel lobby dead? As detectives dig deeper, they'll uncover a tale of redemption turned horribly wrong, and a love-struck woman at the center of it all. "33-year-old Dallas resident Brittany Pollard has a new lease on life.
She was outgoing, she had bright red hair, and she wanted to be seen, she wanted to be noticed.
She would strike up a conversation with anyone.
Brittany was trying to make up for lost time. She had recently been released from prison for a crime she committed as a troubled teenager.
Like a lot of teenagers, Brittany was very rebellious. She was very smart, but instead of focusing on school, she fell in with the wrong crowd.
One evening, her teenage angst boiled over.
She got into a violent altercation with a family member and pulled a gun. She shot her relative.
It was a sheer impulsive act. She did not have any intent to kill the relative. However, her anger got the best of her.
While the relative only suffered minor injuries, Brittany was charged with aggravated assault. She then spent 8 years in a Texas correctional facility.
Initially, when Brittany went to prison, like most young people, there's the shock and disbelief.
Fortunately, Brittany's time behind bars helped her get back on the right track. And by the spring of 2017, she was finally rising from the ashes of her past.
That time in prison, there was a change that happened then, but it was as if she got the structure that she always needed.
Unlike a lot of folks that sort of use their past as a reason to not progress or hold them back, Brittany was trying to overcome that and push forward. She began going to school and working and supporting herself, and she was interested in mental health and helping other folks.
There's a genuine care for other people when you go into mental health. She was working towards that and actually was going to school to be a psychiatric nurse.
However, as Brittany continued to work on reforming her life, she couldn't help but feel like something was missing.
She really felt like she was missing that one piece. She didn't have someone to share her life with.
That is, until she met 33-year-old Brandon Jordan outside her apartment building.
He was selling snacks and cigarettes, trying to earn a few extra bucks.
Brittany struck up a conversation with the attractive stranger, and something happened.
Brandon was tall and handsome, and he was quiet, but he had a powerful presence, and Brittany was attracted to that.
Sparks fly. This is the guy that she can see herself with.
Before long, Brittany and Brandon started dating. The two shared a special bond over the fact that they both came from a similar past.
Both experienced issues with the legal system, so they could connect in that way.
Brandon had recently been released from prison after serving 10 years for armed robbery.
Brandon had gone to a convenience store and had robbed the clerk at gunpoint.
Just like Brittany, he was in the process of trying to reform his life after his time behind bars.
They kind of met at a time where they really needed one another.
Maybe she was soft in her heart for him because she understood where he was coming from.
After just a few months of dating, Brittany invited Brandon to move in with her.
He tells her, I'm having difficulty paying my rent. She takes that moment and she offers to let him move in. That's part of her personality. She's a caring, compassionate individual.
However, the emotional connection the two felt for each other was no match to their physical connection.
This is something that she was longing for, and she felt that she really connected with Brandon. Their relationship began to move very quickly.
Brandon becomes a stabilizing force for her that she's never had. Someone just understands her and loves her, and he provides that.
Anytime you felt like you've been missing out on love and haven't been able to find it, like this void is in your life, and now you have somebody to come and fill that void, that's a good feeling.
Love at first sight, a budding mental health career, Brittany was truly happy.
Brittany's feeling good. Things are falling together, and she feels like she's on the right path and doing the right things.
But little did Brittany know, her new love would push her back to where she started from. May 21st, 2017. Police are investigating a fatal shooting at a local Dallas motel.
The body had been found at the front lobby area.
When they get there, they see a man lying there in a pool of blood.
The victim, he didn't have an ID card, so they don't know his identity immediately.
As they're surveying the lobby, officers make an important observation.
The responding officer notices that there's no blood spatter. So at that point, he determines that this is not the crime scene.
Officers notice a faint trail of blood and follow it outside.
Police follow the blood trail up the stairs. Their guns are drawn.
The trail stops at room 608. The door is slightly ajar. Police ready themselves before they make entry.
They don't know if there's a shooter in the room. They don't know if there's a victim in the room.
Police burst into the door, hoping they're not entering into a gunfight. But what's beyond the door is just the beginning. And soon, police will discover a desperate woman determined to please her man, no matter the cost.
Brittany found herself being willing to do almost anything in the name of love.
When Brittany Pollard met Brandon Jordan in the spring of 2017, it was love at first sight.
Brandon and Brittany, they really hit it off. She felt so hard for Brandon.
The two bonded over similar run-ins with the law.
He also had a past history where he served time in prison, and they were trying to get on the right path.
They get the second chance, another chance to make things right.
Brittany was in school for her dream job in the mental health field, and she was helping Brandon get back on his feet.
Brittany was taking classes to become a psychiatric nurse, and she let Brandon stay with her because he didn't have a place to go, and she wanted to help him.
Brittany was sure great things were in the couple's future. But little did she know, in her quest to help her new man, she'd ultimately derail her own future. May 21st, 2017. Dallas police are investigating a recent motel shooting.
The clerk called 911 to let him know they found the man dead in the lobby. and that he had been shot twice in the chest.
Detectives have determined that the lobby where the victim was found deceased isn't their crime scene.
They found a trail of blood, and they believe it would take them to where the shooting took place.
With guns drawn, police prepare for entry into room 608.
They don't know what they're going to find. They don't know if there's a shooter in there.
Police burst inside and clear the room. It appears the gunman is long gone. Within minutes, detectives arrive on scene. As they look around, they find clues indicating what happened earlier that night.
There was a small amount of blood near the bed. They found shell casings that were consistent with a .380. The bed frame had also been shot.
Police also find a wallet sitting on a bedside table.
There was hundreds of dollars, so an indication of robbery wasn't quite there.
However, the wallet does indicate one thing: the victim's identity. 40-year-old Alejandro Lopez.
According to his ID, he was a Dallas local. So at that point, they weren't sure why he had got a hotel room for the night.
But who killed Alejandro? And where are they now? As officers continue searching the room for clues, detectives are faced with the difficult task of informing Alejandro's family of what's happened.
They were able to locate the information for Alejandro's family and contact them.
The family was very, very upset. They just couldn't believe that really happened to him because of the person that he is. Who wants to hurt him?
Alejandro's family tells detectives he was beloved by everyone who knew him.
He had a sweet personality. He was a hardworking man. He worked in construction. He really believed in supporting his family.
He would give you his shirt off his back if he had to. Just a great guy to be around.
After detectives wrap up their phone call with Alejandro's family, they're informed that the motel has surveillance footage of the property. Detectives meet with the motel clerk to view the footage. First, the clerk pulls up video of the motel lobby.
Alejandro making his way to the manager's office, opening the door. Most of that is captured on video.
When he got there, there was no one there. He collapsed, and he's just gasping for air.
The clerk then pulls up the video feed located near room 608. As luck would have it, they see Alejandro exit the room.
They see the victim stagger out of the door and go toward the office.
Detectives ask the clerk to scrub the footage back further, and that's when they hit pay dirt.
They see the two suspects in this case. One is a tall African-American male.
And this man had his hand on his pocket, most likely on his gun. Then an African-American woman with bright red hair and a colorful dress runs out.
The female has on a very distinctive dress. It's a tube-like dress with a lot of colorful flowers.
Luckily, the motel clerk is able to recognize the male assailant.
And he says, it's Brandon Jordan. He's been staying here for a while.
The clerk says Brandon's room is on the floor below the victim's. The clerk also recognizes the woman in the footage, but he's not able to provide her name.
The motel staff tell the detectives that, we really don't know her, only that she hangs out with Brandon.
She wasn't actually listed as a party in that room.
Detectives ask the clerk to pull up the surveillance footage from outside Brandon's room. When they view it, they see that the couple had stopped back by the room before they fled the area.
Within minutes after the crime, they got a few things together and fled where they were living.
Based on the footage, it looked like they hadn't returned since.
Detectives put out a bolo for the two suspects and prepare to search Brandon's room.
They go into the room and they find a number of things. They found a bunch of mail addressed to Brandon Jordan.
They also found some mail that belongs to Brittany Pollard.
Now they had a female's name as well.
When detectives continue searching the room, they find their most valuable piece of evidence yet.
They found a gun that was involved in the shooting.
The gun was actually put in the desk of that hotel room, and the caliber is consistent with the shell casings that they had found at the crime scene.
It seems the couple had stopped back by the room to stash the gun.
Brandon didn't want to get caught with the gun. He wanted to leave it there in that room.
As police continue to process the crime scene, one officer notices someone unexpected heading in their direction.
Officer see this African-American female come walking up in a colorful dress with the red hair. You know, bells go off. Could that be our person that we saw in the surveillance video?
She walks again right by officers and attempts to go into the room.
Officers stop the woman, and she identifies herself as Brittany Pollard.
This is the same name found on the mail in Brandon Jordan's room.
It's unbelievable that she will return to a crime scene, especially with cops swarming the place.
She tells officers she left something in the room and needs to get inside.
Officers arrest her on the spot. They told her she was caught on tape wearing the same dress, leaving the victim's room just moments after he was shot.
Brittany flies into a frantic fit.
They arrested her. Brittany started crying. She was kind of hysterical.
She was insistent that she's not guilty.
Brittany finally calms down and is taken to the police car. As detectives are putting her into the vehicle, she says something that piques their interest.
She just started talking, you know, hey, I didn't do anything. I know who did. Detectives were in fact interested. They were trying to figure out all the pieces to this puzzle, and now they had somebody who had information. She says, I can show you where he is.
Dallas detectives are investigating the shooting death of 40-year-old Alejandro Lopez.
After getting shot twice, he managed to make it from the room on the second floor all the way down to the lobby area. He's taking his last breaths, and he doesn't make it.
Police have just arrested Brittany Pollard as she attempted to enter suspected gunman Brandon Jordan's motel room.
She was hysterical. She was scared. She was crying. So she was really upset because she felt like she didn't do anything, so why am I being arrested?
As police are putting Brittany into the patrol car, she makes a shocking revelation.
She said, I can take you to his locations. Let me show you where he is. Let me show you where he hangs out. Just to make sure that they knew, I'm on your side. I'm not on his.
When Brittany was arrested and she was placed in a car, she knew that the detectives probably knew it was Brandon because the room was registered to him.
Brittany tells detectives Brandon is hiding out at a friend's house.
She says she's never been there, but he gave her the address so she could meet him.
She told the cops she can lead them to Brandon.
Detectives are suspicious of Brittany's sudden willingness to cooperate. After all, she was seen in the surveillance footage with Brandon just moments after Alejandro's murder.
Brittany was insistent that she's not guilty. She's insistent that she's not a party. She's not involved in any of this, and I just want to help the police.
Detectives know they need to find Brandon Jordan as soon as possible, so they decide to take Brittany up on her offer.
This is someone who's armed and dangerous. He had just killed a man. They don't know if he's out there on a killing spree or if this was just a one-off kind of thing. So they immediately have an interest to go find this Brandon Jordan guy.
Brittany gives detectives the address for a house on the north side of town.
While the detectives had Brittany in the back of the car going to look for Brandon, I think at first they think she was really trying to help them, but the detective discovered that Brandon wasn't here or there.
Brittany insists she made a mistake.
She says she had the address wrong, but she's positive she has it now.
Brittany gives detectives a new address, and they skeptically put it into their GPS. But Brittany continues to lead them from one dead end to another.
After you go to several different places and there's no Brandon, you're starting to realize that, this is a wild goose chase. She's just giving us a runaround because she really don't want us to find Brandon because she's protecting him.
This was her way of getting officers off of his trail, protecting her man again.
She was just trying to give Brandon more time to figure out what he was going to do and try to evade the authorities.
Realizing they've been duped, detectives cut the con short and take Brittany back to the station. As the sun rises on Dallas, detectives sit down with Brittany for a formal interrogation.
At this point, they knew of her background and they knew of her assault charge when she was younger.
The cops see that she spent 8 years behind bars, but they also see she's taking classes at a community college.
It seems she's learned from her past mistakes and perhaps gotten mixed up with the wrong man.
Usually it's going to be the boyfriend that's the mastermind. In this case, they just thought that, yeah, Brandon was in charge. He called the shots. Brittany just did as instructed.
They tell her, listen, you're going to take the fall for this if you're not honest with us. You need to come clean and tell us the truth and tell us how this went down.
But Brittany keeps her lips sealed.
She's still, in a sense, covering for him, wanting to make sure that he's okay. Wherever he is, I'm going to delay the police a little bit to give him a head start, to make sure that he's well taken care of, putting her man first and not fully thinking about consequences or herself in that moment.
With Brittany not willing to budge, police bring out their secret weapon.
Police had confiscated Brittany's phone during the arrest, and they got a warrant to search her texts and phone calls. And when they did this, they struck gold.
The detectives bring out Brittany's phone. She looks totally defeated. She knows what's in there. The detectives know what's in there. She knows the jig is up.
The text message was probably the most damning part of all the evidence.
At that point, Brittany knows she's in danger of going back to prison for a second time. But that isn't going to stop her from continuing to protect her man.
Although she was caught herself, still in her mind, she was trying to figure out ways to protect Brandon.
May 2017. Dallas detectives are interviewing 33-year-old Brittany Pollard, one of the suspects in the murder of 40-year-old Alejandro Lopez.
They had surveillance footage of Brittany and her boyfriend, Brandon Jordan, leaving the victim's motel room just moments after he was shot.
Detectives are frustrated with Brittany. They know she has a checkered past and seemingly has finally got her life in order. So why is she back on the wrong side of the law?
She had taken officers on a wild goose chase. She refuses to talk to them until the police bring out the phone.
Brittany has been uncooperative, to say the least. In order to get her to talk, detectives confront her with the shocking evidence they found on her cell phone.
The text message said, "I'm in room 608. Hurry up and come rob the man I'm with."
The text message was probably the most damning part of all the evidence.
It's clear, you can see that Robert was the motive.
Faced with the irrefutable truth, Brittany breaks down.
Once she was confronted with the text message, she says, "Yes, we intended to rob, but we didn't intend to kill."
Detectives tell Brittany to back up and start from the beginning. She explains it all started a couple months after she and Brandon moved in together.
All the excitement and fun of the relationship depleted pretty quickly because they had to focus just on surviving day to day, and it was a struggle.
Brittany says rent and tuition bills began to stack up, and before long, the couple was evicted.
Brandon and Brittany moved out of the apartment, and it's a motel. It's about $50 a day to stay there.
Brittany says that while the motel offered them a quick refuge, coming up with the daily cash proved difficult.
They lived pretty much day to day. Brandon sold a little bit of weed and a little bit of dope to help raise money to pay for their motel room.
But before long, Brandon came up with a plan to get them more of the cash they needed.
Brandon knew that robbery was a quick and easy way to get money.
Brandon suggested that she go out and meet someone and flirt and take it full force.
He wanted her to use her charm and her smile and her body to find a man and think that she was into him, but really all along the plan was to rob him.
Brittany's a smart woman. She knows that this isn't the right thing to do, but I think she also wants to meet the needs of Brandon.
Ultimately, Brittany agrees to find a man and bring him back to the motel, where Brandon can rob him at gunpoint.
I think that she did it because it benefited him and it made him happy, and that's exactly what she wanted to do, was keep Brandon happy.
Brittany insists the plan was never to kill anyone.
It was supposed to be a one-time thing until they got back on their feet.
Of course, this puts Brittany in a compromising situation, but she also loved her man, and she perceived it as a means of survival.
Brittany confesses that they put their plan into motion at a nearby bar.
She sees Alejandro sitting at the bar, spending money on drinks, and thought that he'll be the perfect target.
She sees that money. She understands that this is a jackpot.
Brittany walked up to Alejandro and started speaking Spanish. She was really excited to meet someone who he could talk to.
He was kind of shy, didn't know how to talk to women. So when the opportunity arose when a female approached him, naturally he's going to buy into that.
So with the little bit of Spanish that Brittany knew, she was able to connect with him even the more so. And he most likely let his guard down and was able to bring it into his safe space.
Brittany tells detectives that she and Alejandro talked and drank for hours. Then, Brittany suggested they rent a motel room to keep the party going.
Brittany suggested that they go back to a motel, but what she didn't tell him is that's where her and Brandon were living.
Brittany says once they got back to the motel room, she continued her act.
She's flirting with Alejandro, waiting for the perfect moment to text Brandon.
It was clear Alejandro was really into her and wanted to take things to the next level.
Before things went too far, Brittany got up to go to the bathroom and secretly sent the signal to Brandon.
Brittany surreptitiously texts Brandon and says, "I'm in room 608 with a man. Come rob him, hurry."
Brittany is having mixed emotions at that moment. She probably was sweating. She probably had a rapid heartbeat.
Little did Brittany know that one quick text would spark a whirlwind of chaos that would change all of their lives forever.
Brittany had no idea it would go this far. She said she feared for their lives.
May 2017, Dallas, Texas. While Brittany Pollard sits in police custody in connection with the murder of Alejandro Lopez, her boyfriend Brandon Jordan remains at large.
Brittany and Brandon had came up with a plan to get some quick cash to pay the rent.
The plan was for Brittany to seduce a man, take him back to the motel where her and Brandon were living, text Brandon when and where everything was going down, and commit the stick-up.
Brittany tells police after she brought her target back to the motel, she sent Brandon a text from the bathroom to let him know the plan was a go.
She actually texts Brandon saying, "Hey, I have a guy in this room. Come and rob him, hurry."
Brittany came out of the bathroom, sat down next to Alejandro, and continued flirting so he wouldn't get suspicious.
Brittany says seconds later, Brandon came bursting through the door, pointing a gun at Alejandro and demanding money. But the robbery went terribly awry.
This man comes in, he's towering over Alejandro, and Alejandro has no idea what's going on.
She said it was very chaotic. There was an argument. Brandon didn't speak Spanish. Alejandro didn't speak English.
She said Alejandro responds by pulling out a box cutter and trying to lunge at them.
She said Alejandro was swinging the box cutter around.
Brittany says Brandon then opened fire, shooting Alejandro twice in the chest.
Brittany insists that Brandon shot Alejandro in self-defense and that Brandon was just protecting the both of them.
When Alejandro was shot, there was chaos going on in her mind, that this was not what she expected.
Brittany explains that no one was supposed to get hurt, but they were in fear for their lives, and Brandon had to shoot.
It was all focused on Alejandro. He's the one who pulled out the weapon. He's the one that did this. He was the aggressor.
Brittany's story seems unlikely. However, detectives have confirmed that the victim had a box cutter in his possession that night.
Medical examiners did find a box cutter in Alejandro's pocket.
Brittany says that somehow this person with this box cutter decided to try to attack a person holding a gun, which doesn't make a lot of sense, and it didn't make a lot of sense to law enforcement either.
If he did have the box cutter open, and once he got shot, he'd have dropped it. He wouldn't have taken time to close and put it back in his pocket.
Detectives believe Brittany is throwing the blame on Alejandro to protect Brandon, but they encourage her to continue with her story.
She was saying that they ended up shooting him, so they ran out because they got scared before they had a chance to even take the money.
Brittany says they then went back to Brandon's room, hid the gun, and fled on foot as they heard sirens in the distance.
I'm thinking they're pretty scared at that point. They're not fully thinking things through, but almost in a panic to leave behind the gun.
Brittany says they didn't get far before they realized their mistake. And Brittany volunteered to go back.
When they got off the premise, it dawned on them, oh my gosh, we have to get that weapon out of the room.
He was a convicted felon, and it would have been criminal for him to just be in possession of a weapon, period, much less that he just shot someone with it. That shows the level of dedication that she had to Brandon, that she would be willing to risk her freedom in order to go and get a weapon that he didn't want caught on him.
Detectives ask Brittany once again, where is Brandon? But it's no surprise, she pleads ignorance.
She wasn't going to give the police anything that would have helped lead them to him.
The one thing that stayed consistent was that she was trying to help Brandon.
At that point, Brittany Pollard is charged with capital murder. With one suspect behind bars, detectives focus on Brandon Jordan.
The detectives are just covering all their bases. They were determined to lock up Brandon.
But before long, detectives receive a very interesting phone call.
The police actually got an anonymous tip from someone saying that Brandon was staying in an apartment complex.
Police rush to the apartment complex. Luckily, they catch Brandon on his way out the door and apprehend him.
Brandon cooperates, puts his hands up, and he's arrested without incident.
Brandon pretty much knew he was caught. It was over.
Now that they finally have Brandon in custody, detectives are eager to hear his side of the story.
With all of Brittany's lies, detectives just want the truth. She's been trying super hard to protect Brandon. However, what's Brandon's story gonna be? Is he gonna flip the script on her?
Dallas police now have both Brandon Jordan and Brittany Pollard in custody for the murder of Alejandro Lopez.
Brandon got taken down to the station, got interviewed by the detectives, waived his rights, gave him a statement, and told them what happened.
Brandon gives the same story that Brittany gave, that Alejandro had a box cutter and he was attacking them.
Detectives slap Brandon with the charge of capital murder as well, just like his girlfriend.
They had a text message that clearly indicated that he was killed during a robbery. So now we went from murder to now capital murder.
One person's life is lost, his family is impacted, and it was because of the lure of quick and easy money.
In February of 2019, Brandon Jordan's trial gets underway inside a Dallas County courtroom. Brittany Pollard elects not to testify against her man.
For Brittany, she wanted to really prove to her man that no matter what, I'm gonna ride or die and be there for you. We're like Bonnie and Clyde. I'm gonna show you that I'm here for you no matter what.
The prosecution shoots down the couple's claim that Brandon shot Alejandro in self-defense.
This was a clear capital murder. We have a robbery and we can prove it.
They were planning to rob someone and take their money, and in order to do that, they were also prepared to kill.
The state theorizes that when Brandon barged in, Alejandro became terrified and tried to leave.
They believe the box cutter never left Alejandro's pocket. Brittany must have saw it when he pulled out his wallet of cash.
Brandon's a big guy. He's pointing a gun. He's blocking the door. He's speaking a language Alejandro does not understand. I'm sure he's pretty scared.
Prosecutors say that when the victim went to escape, Brandon shot him twice in the commotion. But the 2 shots didn't kill Alejandro, and the couple panicked.
Our theory is that he tried to pull that trigger more. He wanted that money. Could it be that the gun jammed? It's quite possible, and that's why he was only shot twice. At that point, I believe Brandon and Brittany said, oh my gosh, we have to figure out what to do. We got to get out of here.
The 2 then fled the room, left the victim for dead. No regard for his safety or his life. They were only concerned with themselves.
When it's the defense's turn, they maintain Brandon's statement and contend he shot Alejandro in self-defense.
He truly felt that all he was doing was defending himself and defending Brittany.
In the end, the jury sides with the prosecution. Brandon Jordan is found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison. In the wake of Brandon's sentencing, Brittany Pollard pleads guilty to avoid trial.
Brittany Pollard pleaded guilty to murder, and she was sentenced to 33 years in prison.
I don't know if she had just thrown in the towel and accepted her fate, or she just came to a crossroads where she said, you know what, I just need to own up to what I did.
Even though in the eyes of the law, justice was served, there's nothing that can bring back Alejandro Lopez.
All he knew was work and home and his friends and supporting his family back home. All of that was cut short because 2 people got greedy and wanted to take something that they didn't work for.
As for Brittany Pollard, she was a reformed convict with a budding career in the mental health field, someone who had worked hard to overcome her past, only to have Brandon Jordan bring her right back to where she started from.
She's probably thinking, what have I gotten myself into? Oh my goodness, prison again. I just can't believe this is happening. Almost like being in a nightmare.
Brittany's love for Brandon had ended up costing her the freedom she so cherished.
She did this all in the name of love. She was willing to risk it all to prove to Brandon how much she really loved him. And she didn't think about the consequences at that moment. All she could think of was, I need to show Brandon I'm really serious about us.
In the end, Alejandro lost his life and they still didn't gain any money. Both of them have really ruined their lives, and he lost his for no reason.